Okay, welcome back to the Guildies podcast, episode 6. We had a little break after our Matt Dabrowski debut on the Guildies podcast. That was really fun. Thanks, Matt, for coming on. I know me and you go way back. It was good to catch up with you. It was phenomenal.
Much love.
Yeah, much love to the homie. Today we have a guest with us. Mr. Dildor, a good friend of mine, and today, Dildor, say hi. That was
hello.
I spoke right over you. Today we've got a few things on the agenda, but the big one, we're going to be talking about the World of Warcraft book, War Crimes. If you haven't read the book, it's fantastic. We're going to dive into it real hard. So if you care about spoilers, the book is literally 10 years old, so...
If you also think, if you don't want to read it and you don't want to buy a copy, you can go on, Audible, if you have an Amazon account, sign up for, a 30-day free trial and just read it.
Yeah, listen to it. Because Scott Brick... Here, listen, Scott Brick, if you're listening. This worked last time. This worked last time.
That's true.
Scott Brick, if you're listening, I have bought so many of your recorded books on Audible. I have bought all your Star Wars ones. I bought all your World of Warcraft ones. I bought your Dune one. Scott Brick is an absolutely phenomenal voice actor, and he gives extra life to this book. So you can use our Audible code. No, I'm just kidding. I wish we had an Audible code. But yeah, I'll reach out to my guy Tom at Amazon, and we'll get something going, right? Maybe for the next Warcraft book. Which the newest ones are actually kind of disappointing. The second to last newest one, Before the Storm, the one that's like Anduin and Sylvanas, very good. The what was the Legion post Legion book was very, very good.
Before the Storm, very,
very good book. The newest one, Shadows Rising, the pre-Shadowlands one, was extremely bad. It wasn't just it was written by, I'm pretty sure, an author who was not established in the WoW writing universe, and also was voice acted by, I think, the same person or someone worse, and it was very, very, very poor voice acting. Listen, voice actor for Shadows Rising, if you're listening to this, you did a very bad job. Please stop.
Susan Wacoma was
Not
narrated
good.
by.
It's not good.
And it was written by Madeline Rooks.
And Madeline Rue is also going to be writing the next WoW book, or at least another one that comes out in April, Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth.
Oh, that's just a lore book. I don't think that's like a
novel.
Shining Blade.
Like a novel.
She wrote a lot. But
Anyways, so we're going to get our Audible thing going. So anyways, let's just dive right into it. War Crimes, World of Warcraft, fantastic. In my opinion, I've read most of the WoW books. The ones that are interesting at all, because the Malfurion book, do you really want to read about Malfurion? Do you really care about Owl Penis, man?
Malfurion is lame and stupid. I do not care what you have to say.
Nobody says my favorite WoW character is Malfurion.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they're like, oh, you mean Illidan's like limp-wristed little brother? No, Malfurion's super cool, dude. He's got bare feet and antlers, and
he sleeps for a really long time.
Yeah, remember that kid that jacked off 48 times in a day and then died? Malfurion did it for 10,000 years in the Emerald Dream, so poor Korean kid's got nothing on him. I'm pretty sure it was like a Korean kid. I think it was 48 times in 24 hours, and his heart exploded. But he was 24.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was just a kid.
Oh, I know, that's sad.
Yeah, Jibby, could you fact check that real quick for me, buddy?
I'm checking. Brazilian teenager dies after masturbating 42 times. Wait, no, there's another one that says 50.
Uh-oh.
This guy's a man, but it said 62 times.
Okay, so, You know, that's how it is, man. Sometimes you.
A South African guy from Bloemfontein. Died on Valentine's Day.
From where? Bloemfontein?
Yeah, Bloemfontein. Bloemfontein.
On Valentine's Day, no less.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a tragedy more than anything. I just feel sad now.
Oh, it's the capital of South Africa. Sorry, we're getting off
Geography.
Yeah, I thought it was South Sugandees, but I was wrong. That's where we went. That's where we went to uni at, mate. We was in South Sugandees. Sorry, that was in South Sudan. I'm sorry, I get those confused all the time. We went to uni in Africa. Well, in war-torn Africa, not near distant past war-torn Africa. Anyways, yeah.
World of Warcraft. War crimes.
World of Warcraft. War crimes. It's probably, in my opinion, the strongest behind Vol'jin Shadow of the Horde, which is the one that directly preceded this. And just a brief overview of that one. They mention it in Vol'jin's testimony in the book, where they talk about Garrosh trying to have him killed. And then he's like rescued by Chen Stormstout of Stormstout Breweries. Yeah, we should get a Stormstout Breweries t-shirt.
Peppers.
Yeah.
That guy.
It's not him. No, that's Uncle Gao.
Oh,
Different. Or Uncle Yao.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All pandas look the same to me.
Ooh.
I know it's one of the major themes of this book, racism, but you don't need to...
Yeah, right. We don't... Pandaren racism, while funny, is not... We don't condone it. So I was a really, really, really big fan of this one. I think it's probably the strongest that they've done in a really, really long time. And the trial format for me, at first I thought it was silly. When I read this book for the first time years ago, I thought it was really silly. I was like, dude, are we seriously going to have the fucking like cow man put on a suit and like cross-examine witnesses?
So you don't want to read Bane Bloodhoof Ace Attorney?
Yeah, right. I do, actually. I really would like to read that. But I thought it was going to be really silly and like forced really hard, but they do such an amazing job of like not defiant's not the right word, of like excusing it. What's a better word than excusing? Like
presenting it in an interesting way.
Yeah, they do justify. They do a really good way of justifying it with like Pandaren law and Taranju. Taranju is also phenomenal in Shadow of the Horde, which is the Vol'jin book, and it's got more of like the Pandaren stuff. And again, Scott Brick knows how to play a fucking Asian bear very, very well. He is fantastic. Some of the best voice acting, dude, is Taranju, hands down, and like Lucci and Lauchi.
Just overall though, but Scott Brick is like pretty good at capturing at least like a lot of the male characters. The female ones kind of blend together, but you can kind of tell like Tyrande apart from Jaina more or less. But he really like you can tell what character he's trying to represent with like very subtle changes in how he talks. Like Bane is pretty distinct from everyone else and sounds extra Tauran-y.
Extra Tauran.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Them Tauran-y tones.
Well, he's
No, but yeah, I agree really strongly. It was like there's like moments in the book where obviously I don't have the biggest attention with books, but like it's like there'll be like two characters talking. If I lose track, I could really clearly instantly identify who's who just because of how he portrays the characters.
Yeah,
it's
well,
insane.
And he's so good at. And I was thinking about this on my drive back from work today, but like, Varian has got a very distinct voice in this book. Anduin has a very distinct voice. And obviously the other ones have like inflections and whatnot, so it's easy for him to do. You know, the Tauran sounds very different because it's like supposed to be like a Native American-esque kind of slow, methodical talking, and Vol'jin is this, you know, can you believe the Jamaicans? Yeah, can you believe the Jamaicans took the accent from WoW Trolls? That's pretty fucked up. just sipping my tea. But he does such an amazing job. The female voices I do agree with, although there's not that many female voices in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like Varisa and Sylvanas, but there's a lot more male voices that matter.
Yeah, I agree with that though.
Yeah.
Like, not to like get through your head, but
Go
like
ahead.
there's like moments in the book where it's like there'll be Sylvanas and Theresa talking to each other, and there was like times where I would like slip up on a word, and because the voices are kind of like pretty similar, there's like some interactions where I'm not sure who's saying what. I'd have to go back.
I agree. I definitely kind of like lost it and had to really closely, especially as we'll get into the way that Varisa's acting, like kind of blurs it too.
Well,
Yeah.
and here, let's just headlong flight right into this. The low points in this book was the fucking Varisa Sylvanas arc. 10,000 times over. Oh my god. I
didn't think it was like the worst thing in the world, but I felt like the whole like every time they started talking about like the Dragon Maw stuff, I just fell asleep. Like that.
See, I think the because it's very weird and like way out of character for Varisa to be like, I'm going to defect to the graveyard under the gigantic city.
That
like
I had to I had to keep going over that a few times because I didn't really. I thought I was misunderstanding it. Like
you weren't.
like what?
Before we get too deep into these tangents, we haven't even established who is being charged and with what crimes.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't. I forget that we're Well, I figure most people are gonna watch this are gonna be like, oh, I know that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we'll give a brief synopsis. Garrosh Hellscream, son of Grommash Hellscream, which is the picture for the Guildies podcast. Very good. Love Grommash. Great character. He's dead. Garrosh basically committed like 1,000 billion war crimes. Like he nuked Theramore, sad face.
Killed children.
Always cringed when they said forced pregnancy in the list of war crimes he committed.
Good.
Basically, in his tenure as the war chief, when Thrall appointed him, he is basically acting in a way that is not. There's no justified military force. He's just rape, murder, enforced disappearance of individuals like political enemies and stuff.
You named it like wagon bombs.
Wait. Yeah, my what are the Goblin War Machine bombs? They're rolling through Orgrimmar and they just blow. Anyway, enough about WoW domestic terrorism.
But it's all about domestic terrorism.
True. So that is the plot, and then he, at the end of Pandaria, is beaten by the heroes, by the champions, and then also
by the player.
Very conveniently, all of the Horde and all of the Alliance are in that like secret chamber under Orgrimmar at the end of Siege of Orgrimmar. And then Varian, Goal or Thrall as he was, is like, I'm gonna kill this fella. I'm gonna kill this son of a bitchin' fella. And Varian stops him, and he's like, he's got to go to trial. Which I don't know who. They had just learned that Pandaria existed, and then Varian's like, we got to have a trial there.
Yeah,
they're like, I know we pretty much just ravaged the continent for resources and control, but
we killed, conscripted, and enslaved your populace. We took your resources. We pretty much bring this like demon entity to your lands, but you're gonna host the trial because we trust you.
Right. How many other characters have even gone to trial for any of the things that they've done?
Also, how many are just dead, like just not alive anymore?
Right, and like I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because Garrosh is the war chief. But I mean, like, I don't know.
I think, all joking aside, it is like a great writing step for them, and I think it's something they've kind of continued with since then. Because before, I think when you talk about classic all the way up to Cataclysm, There's some stuff that makes sense, but I think a lot of the reason that people say WoW lore is not great is because up until then, characters seem to have like motivations that would kind of shift and change. And I feel like when they made this really grounded, like he will stand trial, these two, air quotes, countries can agree on this, and it's like a very political and like sobered look at it. Besides like herder evil, ice king bad,
Whack
that,
with him.
that seemed like kind of the thesis of like Pandaria, or like the whole kind of attitude of Alliance versus Horde for that X Pack and the kind of surrounding stuff.
Yeah.
Was that like they're getting closer together, so them both agreeing, like both like the war chief and like fucking head of the Alliance.
Yeah. Which is like very, the Horde is one entity and the Alliance is, but it's in the books, in like Wolfheart, which is the Varian book from Cataclysm era. They talk about the Alliance coming together and then the Alliance just totally going apart after conflicts happen. Basically, like when Gilneas is overrun and the whole thing is like super fucked. Varians, dude, my favorite part in Wolfheart is they go to Darnassus for, oh god, I don't know, like there's some ceremony. I don't really remember. The book was not that interesting. But there's a part where the Gilneans are there. So there's all these wolves and Gen is there because he's the king. That didn't go well. And they ask Varian for help, and Varian gets up in front of everyone and is like, "You can fucking kill yourself." It is so seriously in the book. He baits them into being like, "I'm gonna be super nice," and they're like, "Oh, we're so hopeful." They're like, they does like the like internal monologue that Gen's like, "Oh, this is gonna be our chance to blah blah blah," and Varian's like, "There is no way I will let mongrel filth into Stormwind, let alone the Alliance," and they're like, "No, my fifis."
Tail between legs.
But the Alliance is really interesting because even though Varian acts as like king, because he's king of Stormwind, he's not king of the Alliance.
Right. That's kind of weird.
You tell him that. See what happens.
Yeah, well, he's dead, so.
Right. Rip in peace. Well, that's the thing. Like, even the Horde too is kind of really fractured. Like Sylvanas and the Forsaken, they kind of have their own thing, and then the Tauren are just kind of in the Horde because of obligation, it seems. Well, and they really don't want to do half the shit that like the orcs or trolls want to do.
Right. Well, and a lot of it you see moving, because you got to think about everything that happens in like a 35-year time span, right? Like the entirety of the books and the game. The Dark Portal's opened. Well, you think of Draenor. They're in Draenor. They drink the demon's blood. They drink the blood of Manoroth, right? And then Gul'dan opens the portal, and then they come through. Between there and there is a few years. I think like 3 to 5 years between them drinking the demon blood and then them basically destroying Draenor and having to go to Azeroth. And then the orcs get there and are like, let's just kill everything. They're like, here's the game plan, guys. Everything. Kill everything. So the Horde isn't even formed until they're no longer under Gul'dan's influence. So there is a period of time where they come into Azeroth, they fight the humans, and then they're all captured. And they haven't officially formed like the Horde. Or like the Horde in Azeroth as we think about it. So the Horde like has built all this time up to Pandaria where they're like becoming an actual like syndicated force. And then you have the Alliance, which seems to like be splintering apart coming up to this. Anyways,
for the trial itself, we have the Pandaren. We have Terran Zhu as like the judge essentially, and then they have the Celestials as the jurors, and then both sides have to pick who they want to be the accuser and defender. And for the accuser, I think they pretty much pick Tyrande like right away to be accuser. But then like for defender, if I have this right, they were gonna make it like Vol'jin or something, and then they pass it off to Bane Bloodhoof. And actually, I think it was gonna be they chose Varian, but he really
Yeah.
didn't want to do it. So
Well,
then they
because
picked
both
Toronto.
sides got a veto, didn't they? Like they could choose the
Yes, that is exactly correct.
yeah, and the Alliance tricked TM, didn't they? Like there was it was more like Bane thought it was a play, I think. But they put Varian first, knowing that the Alliance, knowing the Horde will
Veto.
immediately
Yeah, that's
veto
right.
it.
That part is such a great plot point, I think, and because it feels convenient because it puts a lot of tension's the wrong word, but it puts a lot of conflict
Political
in there.
intrigue.
Right, yeah, it puts a lot of political intrigue and conflict in there for seemingly no reason, but I think the concept of honor between like Vol'jin and Bane and then Cairn, I think them all having like the symbiotic relationship of like Vol'jin served under Cairn, and then Cairn had a really high opinion of Vol'jin, and there was all these like relationships that had been built. It really works when Vol'jin really wants Bane to defend Garrosh, because at first I was like, man, that is really easy, and they could have just done that for like a content, but it feels very in line with the characters and what we know about them up until that point.
Great.
Yeah. And then Taranda's like, when she gets chosen, she's like, sure, I hate Garrosh. Let's fucking kill him. And then Bane's like, oh my god, kill me now. And then like, yeah, he really doesn't want to do it. And then he has like a vision, like with, I don't remember the other Tauren's name. Was it Perith? I don't remember.
The Perith Longwalker,
was he the one in the beginning? That
wasn't he was
he's talking to his dad, isn't he? He's talking to Cairn.
Yeah,
well, no, but yeah, it was somebody else like set it up for him.
A panda, didn't he? Wasn't it like one of the pandas that set him up with a vision with Khan cornflakes?
No, in the beginning he's interrupted by a Pandaren. Yeah, but it's another like shaman or whatever they are. They have a different thing. Tyrande, they gloss over it a lot in the book, but in Kata, well, I guess whenever End of Kata into Pandaria, when Garrosh goes on like the conquest for all of Kalimdor, because that's initially his push is that he is, before they knew about Pandaria, he was like, we are going to take Kalimdor. Kalimdor is for the Horde, folks. And so he just takes a gigantic brutal rape force and just goes right through Ashenvale, cuts down like all the trees, scorches the land, does a lot of damage to like the Night Elf homeland, and it like really doesn't get talked about in war crimes.
At the very end, it gets mentioned.
Yeah, they mention it, but like they made a book on it. Like,
yeah, because the main focal point is about essential like the mana bomb, which is more or less a nuke. Yeah, that they dropped on Theramore, and that was like the main thing that brought them to court.
What was your guys' favorite trial? Like, or not trial, but what's your favorite witness? Like, which ones really stood out to you? Because I have a few, but I would like to hear your guys' first.
I really liked Alex Strauss's one.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Alex Strauss's. I'm trying to think of.
I think just because it led to other scenes was maybe like the Anduin one, just because like it really kind of like gave Bane like some leverage later on, and then but then it led to all like Anduin having like meeting with Garrosh in his cell, like having private chats.
Ooh. Yeah, that was really good.
Really.
And honestly, Anduin becomes a really, really good character. In my opinion, he starts here, and his trajectory over the next few books, he retains a lot of what he is. They're very consistent with his character, which I like. I like that he doesn't like just become like a badass in like in his book. Like he's not just like his dad.
Yeah.
But Anduin becomes a really likable character, and I think he's really good in this too. They write him very thoughtfully, and like obviously he's got character flaws, like like anyone or anything does. But I think he's very well done, and I think it's a very full character. I think you can relate to him and empathize with him, and I think they did a really, really, really good job with Anduin. One of my favorite witnesses, because I think it does a fantastic job of world building, is whichever one survived I think it was the ex-Corcoran guy or the mushroom guy.
Oh,
The mushroom farmer, I forget his
yeah,
name.
Yeah.
But where they talk about the
yeah,
they talk about the Razor Hill bombing, and they talk about the Blood Elf Ranger and the Forsaken General who were like having a drink at the Razor Hill Inn, and then the Corcoran come in and just destroy the entire inn because they were political dissent. That one I liked a lot because it showed, because you see it in your interactions with players in World of Warcraft, but you see like a Blood Elf and a Forsaken like having drinks together, and I think it really legitimizes like that, the fact that the Horde is not just, you know, a bunch of orcs, and that these people are all living and serving together. That was one of my favorite parts. And then they die.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely, because I mean it was one of the first witnesses. I think the second one.
Yeah.
But it really stands out like as more memorable than a lot of the others. And then I think to go on the Anduin bit a little bit more, I think as a character that he foils Varian really well, because Varian, like, throughout the whole book is having like angry like outbursts all the time.
Aneurysms, like,
right. Like at like Jaina and Anduin for half the book. And then but then Anduin's here just always like calm and patient and just a precious boy we must protect.
Yeah. Well, and Anduin, I think, is, because when you see him in like Wolfheart, which is it's the big one where they have the father son angry face thing. They're really upset with each other, and basically Anduin's like, "Fuck you, Dad. I'm gonna go live with Velen." And Varian's like, "Oh, you better not." And Velen's like, "I'm going to take him back to the Exodar." And Varian's like, "Oh shucks, son of a bitch." Okay.
That's like a Velen taking like some fucking young child to his Exodus.
Because that's how Varian learns. Not Varian. That's where Anduin learns to be a priest. Is he trains with Velen? So
you took my son to a sissification camp, you buck.
yeah. You've been giving my son sissy hypno.
Maybe that's the Durante thing, because they did the same thing with Duraton.
Yeah, right.
The other one, they kidnapping a lot of kids.
Anyways, Varian's a very real character, and I think he's one of the most real characters in just in the lore period. But him getting upset, you know, when they flash back to him storming Ironforge and killing like 3 Dark Iron Dwarfs before they get him to stand down, which, are we going to talk about that? Because that entire instance when they do it is like, he breaks in with SI7, so like Alliance covert team, kills like 3 Dark Iron Dwarfs, breaks into Moira's room, like holds a blade to her neck, and he's like, "I swear to fucking God, you better give up the throne, or this isn't what Magni would have wanted." And they have this whole pissing match, and then he's like, "Oh, I was wrong," and the dwarfs throw a party, but there's 3 dead dwarves. Like, people died, and we just did. They're like, "Oh, we forgive you, King Varian." Like, yeah.
Like, they even bring it up. It was just like the King of Stormwind held a dwarf at like knife point, and when she was in a nightgown, defenseless. Like,
pretty hot NGL.
Jesus Christ, dude.
But that's one where obviously like they rationalize it with like Anduin's being held hostage, so I guess they justify Varian having an absolute fucking meltdown. But Varian is a very real character, and his reaction, one of the most genuine reactions in the book that I think they wrote, when Varian finds out that Jane and Anduin had the meeting, and he's like, "Hey, why didn't you fucking tell me?" And like had to see it in front of everyone. Like, not only is his like son and like childhood friend like lying to him about, I don't know, like the Iran Contra deal, but also like they put it on. It's like he got put on blast because they did it. They're like, here comes this scene, and Varian's like, I wonder what's coming next. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, fuck that Varian guy. Yeah, here I'll give you 100,000 gold to fight the Grim Totem, I guess. I don't know. Like when Varian's like, we have to have a fucking talk, and he's like screaming. I feel like that was a very humanizing and relatable. I too would be angry if my son and like childhood best friend was like, yeah. Geez, what am I going to say here? Basically, if I find out they had just like lied to me about something extremely important, and then I found out via like social media, I'd be like, I'd be upset. Like that's such a relatable.
It's like finding out in front of your like worst possible enemies in the same room. Bro.
Yeah, I'd be like finding about it on social media in front of my mother.
It's like. Like every ex-girlfriend, your mother, and all your parents.
Yeah. You got me feeling some type of way.
But Varian is a good character because he's a flawed character. He's a good dad, but an angry dad.
Yeah, right. Well, right. And he like beats the shit out of Anduin and Wolfheart. So he's definitely reformed.
Yeah, and then that and like the racism bit too. Because like even people who are like longtime friends, he's like still racist against them. They're like, yeah, Goal/Thrall is a really cool guy, but we can't trust him. He's on the Horde, and it's like
he's got a green skin. You just can't.
Right? Yeah, you know, yeah, around green.
Your like, fountain's over there, buddy.
It's like, no, you.
Jesus Christ.
You dwarves need to be told how to lead your country. And it's
yeah, pretty sweet that you have to fucking break into the Stormwind embassy at Ironforge and demand you depose their leader. I think so. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump back to the Sylvanas thing because I think it was some points were high, but they came to it way too many times. Sylvanas and Varisa have like 4 separate meetings. And it just didn't have to. I initially, the idea to me was very intriguing that Sylvanas wanted Varisa to defect.
I enjoyed the interactions between them quite a bit. Like it was nice seeing Jana. I mean, Sylvanas. I'm stupid. It was nice seeing her in a bit more of a different light than what I'm used to seeing her in the games, for example, of her just being this stuck-up bitch that you want to like sucker punch. But like in the books, it's like when she interacted with Teresa, it always felt like it was less I'm an undead bitch and more of a I'm a loving sister. You know?
Right.
She likes scheming, and it's good to see that she's like interacting with Varisa with like no bad intentions and isn't trying to like trick her.
Well, and there's always, you keep seeing this on the WoW subreddit, which, you know, I'll just say it again. We say it most podcasts, but, you know, if you're on Reddit, that's pretty bad. But if you're going to be on Reddit, fucking stay away from the WoW subreddit. There is nothing but absolute fucking shit and shitters and shit enablers in the WoW subreddit. This is me disbarring and publicly denouncing the WoW subreddit. WoW subreddit, fuck you. But
Ganondorf declares war on the WoW subreddit.
Yeah, I'm
a regular segment where we just find like very like just Reddit gold,
like just very yes,
just like insane shit people say. I was thinking about this, like either going on the WoW forums, like the official ones, or on Reddit and trying to find the worst takes and just the insane things people say.
I, Doug Ganondorf, Dildor, and Bear are issuing a formal fatwa against the WoW subreddit. No more. There is a holy war being waged.
For Allah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, for For the Naru.
Loktar.
Yeah, Loktar Ogar. Loktar, fuck you, Reddit. Anyways, one of the points that people bring up as to why WoW's story writing is so bad is that Garrosh happens, and then they make the argument that during BFA and Legion that Sylvanas is now Garrosh 2.0. And I want to first of all say that what an insanely fucking stupid take, because their motivations are profoundly different. Sylvanas has been building this insane issue, this huge complex that she has basically since she was unwillingly brought back from the dead and cannot eat, shit, piss, drink, sleep. She can't do anything. She doesn't get tired. She has basically no emotions. She has no like physical anything. And then also all her friends are dead. Everyone is dead.
All my friends are dead.
All her friends are dead. Her sister is not able to talk to her. She had
In fact,
like
her sister even betrays her in this book, technically.
well, and so this is what I'm saying, where like she has all this very human suffering and tragedy and pain lead into her becoming just a very calloused and angry. And even when you talk about the end of BFA into Shadowlands, that she's trying to basically save the living from the pain of living, it becomes like a philosophical thing for her. And she's obviously tortured by, you know, the pain of, you know, she was like a ranger general in Silvermoon, and then we lost 80% of all blood elves or high elves in like one attack. Gone. So like all her friends, all her family, the only people left are Verisa and Illyria, but she doesn't talk to them. It's this huge gigantic issue that leads to her becoming genocidal, burning the fucking tree. Tree.
My tree. My homeland tree.
This is what I mean when I say like her character has been built over many, many X-Packs and many, many stories, and to be just like she's Garrosh 2.0, like, God, it's such a lazy
Very
fucking thing to say. Yeah, extremely, because even Garrosh has, and this is another point I want to bring up, but even Garrosh has not justifications, but what he does makes sense for where the character went and how he came to be that character, and that's another like dimension to this whole story. But yeah, but anyways, the Sylvanas Verisa thing I think is great until you get to the point where they bring up the kids. And at that point, part of my suspension of disbelief is like, you want to live with your sister so bad, and then Sylvanas is like, you don't have to bring the kids, and Verisa's like, oh, okay. Because Verisa's like, oh, it's how are they going to understand why they live in a fucking graveyard filled with like glowing green cum everywhere, and it stinks like several thousands of dead bodies are living together in a fucking sewer. And Verisa's like, oh yeah, that's gonna suck. And Sylvanas like, oh yeah, man, that is gonna suck for them. Maybe you could not bring them. And Verisa's like, oh, maybe. And you're like, what the hell is this interaction? What is happening?
Yeah, it's got
people not to have jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not some of the strongest writing or like sense making, I guess, in the book. But
Sense making.
Like it makes
sense-making.
like it made sense in that like it was kind of a similar character arc for like that Jaina had, was that like you're just so mad about what happened and you're like blinded by like grief,
Right.
that you can't think straight. But then it was kind of weird that they keep meeting and then we're like, are we gonna do it? Yep, we're gonna do it. This is our official plan. I can't believe we're doing this. And then it's like, but you have children, and then it's like, oh no, I do have children.
Yeah.
Never mind, forget everything.
Well,
I changed my mind.
Well, and I get it with Jaina, where she's overcome with grief so much that she wants revenge, but there's no point where Jaina's like, oh yeah, think about defecting to the Horde. I know Garrosh just blew up my whole city and my friends and my gnome apprentice, which is a rough scene when they do the, like, she's trying to pick up, like, I forget what it is. because it's a gnome, so it's not even a person. But she's like after the mana bomb happens and she goes back, she's like trying to pick up her apprentice's ashes, and she's having like a thing that was really sad in the end. But at no point is she like, oh, I just think I'm gonna go join the trolls and Echo Isles seems like a good idea. But like Varisa is also just a long-term alliance member.
Mm-hmm.
Like she sided with the alliance after the Scourge came through Silvermoon. I just don't see the plausible, like she lost Ronan, right, who is her husband when the mana bomb was dropped. Like why would she want to join the Horde? She would literally be defecting to the Horde who just vaporized her husband. Interracial husband, by the way. She's an elf, he's a human, so anyway.
What are the kids coming out like?
Well,
they come out human or elf?
Well, it's like the same thing like D&D. The half elves are like.
I don't play your manlet games.
Oh,
your manlet game.
Warcraft.
Yeah, because it's cool.
Yeah, World of Warcraft is way sweeter than D&D. You got to be honest.
I mean, when you're right, you're right. And I also like to point out that the reason that Varisa and Sylvanas are even talking to each other is because they wanted both poison and kill Garrosh secretly.
Now that was good. Now that was very, very good.
The reason for coming together was really good, but then it just kind of, well, they keep talking about how they're gonna do it, and then it's like, oh, potion maker.
Oh, should we have sex?
Potion. Make a potion to kill Garrosh.
Now I do like that plot point. The way they unfold that at the end of the book, and Anduin going and saving Garrosh, and the whole issue that Varisa has with it, and her whole like conflict and turmoil with it. I thought that was very, very good, and I like wasn't expecting it when I was reading it. Like I didn't think it would come to the head like that. I was very impressed with how that was handled.
Like, stops Anduin's do with the information as you must. And she runs off.
Yeah, dude. What if he just did that and then he's like, okay, you're going to jail for 700,000 years. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Varian on you. You guys better start running.
What a guy. Yeah. The Anduin and Garrosh meetings though were very, 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 very good. I honestly like Garrosh as a character. I know I'm basically.
I did too.
Mm-hmm.
I that was something I didn't really suspect, I guess, like because obviously he's like meant to be the bad, well, he's a bad dude. But like I found myself pretty. I liked Garrosh, I think, more than like a good chunk of characters they were like introduced over the book. Like I don't know why. It's like his character with these like just these like stuck up tone, but it's like I don't know with the Anduin conversation, he definitely I don't know. I just felt like more. I enjoyed his character more, I guess.
I think Garrosh is also a very human character, and Garrosh ends up having like not like a survivor complex, but almost like that. Like Garrosh is so committed to the Horde and moreover like the orcs that he is willing to do anything. And I feel like he has a very, and not to get like too like philosophical or moral about this, but the view that Garrosh takes where he talks, he's like what I did was neither right or wrong. It was what I had to do to, bring whatever back to the Horde or to make the Horde whatever it was again. I think is maybe the most like sober, like realism take in the book, because a lot of other positions are either lukewarm or just like fanciful. Like Anduin comes from a position as a child. He's like, 15 in the book, I think?
Yeah, 15.
So the other really strong philosophy here is very naive and childlike. And there's not really a whole bunch of other ones in between, but Garrosh is a very real and very like sobered look at the world. And I feel like he's such a great, because he's not like genocidal. He's not like,
doesn't exist to kill. Like here, he's not like Sylvanas, really.
Right. Yeah, he's not just full of malice. There is a point behind it, and he is doing what he thinks needs to be done. And I think you can draw parallels with that with, anything in life or in the world. And I feel like Garrosh is maybe the best written character here, even though he's made out to be like Turbo Boogeyman.
Well, I think that just kind of like is kind of like the whole like thesis of the book, because if you really think about it, every character is like juxtaposed with somebody else. Like they're always like contrasting, and if you think
Right.
about it, like Garrosh and Bane both have daddy issues. Like both are like trying to like live up to what their dead dads are telling them, and like they both are like driven by that goal. And like you think you're about to go into it, but like Anduin versus Garrosh, you have Anduin who's extremely optimistic and naive, but it also like makes him like morally good, whereas like Garrosh is like not that much morals, if any, and he's also very like pessimistic and pragmatic. So like you really everybody really contrasts each other really well. And also like you get a little bit of that, and with Anduin and what's the black dragon's name again?
Rathian.
Raytheon.
Yeah,
Raytheon.
Yeah, he bungled this whole fucking operation. Way to go.
yeah.
Way to go, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Bro.
Which is really interesting because they don't give backstory to it in the book, but backstory exists for it. Rathian does all this because he basically, once Deathwing is defeated, he takes like an oath. He's like, the Black Dragon Flight is now committed to doing whatever it takes, and whatever is best for Azeroth. So Rathian's not really at opposition with the Alliance or the Horde. When Rathian helps, is it Karaz Dormu or Karaz, whatever they call him? When they help him in the Infinite Dragonflight break Garrosh out, he's doing what he thinks is best for Azeroth. This is not like a partisan thing, or he thinks like the Horde should win. Although his reasoning for it, both into Pandaria and then into Draenor, is that he had a vision of what would come when the Burning Legion came again, and that one side needed to dominate the other in terms of the Alliance and Horde, and so that when the Burning Legion came for the third time, that the world wouldn't be swallowed up because the Alliance and Horde were busy fighting each other, which is the motivation for why he lets Garrosh out of prison and breaks him out, I guess, is how I'm going to say it. Which is interesting, and having that backstory makes a lot more sense, because now he just looks like fucking like Aladdin. Like Aladdin just came to break him out of prison. Like he's just a street rat, and he's like, okay, come on, Hitler, let's go. We're going back to 1930. Let's go.
Yeah.
Great character.
Because at first I didn't know how I felt about it. I guess, are we getting into the ending? Also, I think it's important that we should add another bit. We go on so many tangents because there's a lot to talk about. But in the beginning, that they set up the trial like knowing that Garrosh is like guilty of everything that he's done.
Right.
And then they have, I can't think of the exact name, but they have Chromie and I think, is it Karaz or whoever?
Karaz Dormu, but they just call him Karaz.
Yeah, but Karaz and Chromie, like the bronze dragons, they create this like time device that lets them see perfectly into the past and present and a little bit into the future. And then they use that to show what Garrosh did, or just other scenes from WoW history when like they're doing their like cross-examining in the trial.
Yeah. So
It's important that we set that up because I don't know, do we want to just kind of talk to the ending and how it ultimately concludes?
Well, I mean, we can jump all over with that, but well, just bringing that up, that is a fantastic plot point that is a hair convenient, but it's definitely worth it, because it would be really lame if it was just like, so-and-so knew about this and they're accusing you of this and they have the memory of this and that, like that would be really confusing if it was like flashback into someone's memory and then flashback and then someone's perspective on, like that would be really confusing.
Right.
So I'm really glad they did it that way, because it's the best way to, be like, we have CCTV footage of you breaking into the gas station. And Garrett's like, man, I didn't do it. That wasn't me.
With how many like important characters there are, like it would just get way too messy.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I wanted to say that I really appreciated about the book was that there's like a lot of big name characters, but it doesn't get messy. Because the thing is, otherwise it sounds like a fan fiction. Like if you have you guys ever seen the Super Smash Brothers Brawl go to Orlando Studio?
Yes. Dude, yeah.
It's one of the longest like fan fictions ever written, and basically it'll be like, and then Yoshi was doing this, and then Peach was doing this, and Solid Snake was doing
Dude,
this.
seriously, I'm gonna link it in the description of this video, but it is exactly what he just said. Like, oh, and Mario got to the airport and bought like a souvenir in the gift shop, and it's
all just really like mundane things or like basic kind of character things.
Oh my god!
Just like them at the airport and boarding and everything, and like Princess offering Mars bars to Solid Snake was
or like
So
like Ness is listening to his iPod in the airplane, and like, dude, it's super bad.
Like that's what it seems like the book is gonna be almost, because it's like these are a lot of like big name characters all getting mentioned by name like repeatedly, but it doesn't get that sloppy. Like each character really kind of gets their like enough time.
Well, and they also don't dive too hard into like B tier and C tier importance characters. Like, you know, you think about A tier importance, like Varian,
Jaina,
Bane, Vol'jin, Jaina, Tyrande, Sylvanas, and then like Verisa is kind of like a B tier. Like she's important enough, she's not that important. Like the wives of some of them is, you know, like Ronan, or like Draka is there, or Agra, whatever Thrall's slime piece's name is. I think it's Agra. It's Agra because it's really close to his mom's name, which is hot.
It's kind of weird.
Nah, it's kind of fucking. I don't know. I'd like to see some Draenor DP. Anyways,
what is your problem?
I'm horny, man. I'm just fucking. I'm horny, buddy.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I
need to. Yeah,
the
it's
horny police have taken you in.
yeah, the recording's done. Yeah, I'm gonna get a bumper sticker. It just says needs to jacket. Like, needs to, yeah. They're gonna think I'm like homeless or something. Like, oh, do you need a jacket? Do you need a oh, I got a jacket here. I'm like, no, no, not that one. But they briefly mention all these, or like Jaina's assistant, which again I have zero fucking clue.
Her?
Jaina's assistant?
Like
Jaina?
Her lover?
No, her assistant. Her assistant who died in Theramore, her apprentice.
Was he even mentioned in the book?
She. Quite a few times in the later part. It's a gnome.
Like I think once or twice.
Oh, that's why I don't care. Okay, continue.
It's barely brought up, but that was another character. What's his fucking name? Jaina's lover, man.
Calicos? Yeah, the blue dragon aspect. Or
he doesn't do much of anything in this book.
No, and I was gonna say something about their relationship.
It's kind of cringy. I'll be real with you.
It's really like weird. Like it just kind of read weird when it was just like. Like, hey Jaina, I know you're dealing with trauma after your city got nuked and all of your like close friends and everyone you've ever loved almost like just got destroyed.
I'm a dragon head army. Like, come on, man.
You're getting too depressed for me. I don't think we can.
Yeah, dude. Fucking what a fucking alpha male. What just a fucking Chad? He's like, bitch, you better start smiling, cause I ain't.
You should smile more.
I'm feeling this shit.
Yeah, you should smile more.
It's weird, and like he's barely relevant. It's like that conversation, and at the very end is when like they show up when like Jaina like I don't know her resolve is emboldened, and then she like runs up to hug him,
Right,
and then like that was kind of it.
Well, and that's
Oh.
go on, mate.
It's a minor thing, but it's also because every time these characters, obviously, you have like a mental image in your head of like what the scene is and everything, right? When I imagine Jaina, I imagine the hot fucking blue-haired alliance chick, right?
No, she's not blue haired.
Blue-haired? Well, she's streak of fucking gray or whatever.
She has after Theramore, she has totally white hair with a streak of blonde.
That's the one.
There you go.
It's like just BFA Jaina or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I think of Caligos, and I think of that fucking stupid ass blue-haired, long-haired guy that has the brown tunic on with the white arms. Like out of the WoW model.
Right, definitely out of the character creation screen.
Yeah, like it's just, and I imagine those two. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Calicos's appearance. I mean, even like in the games, is just like stark and very strange because it's like a very saturated blue.
Yeah, it's just thinking of those two like interacting that way. It just felt weird.
It seems like an OC talking to Jaina.
Yeah, it's like, this is my OC, the blue dragonfly. He's a
blue dragon with blue hair.
Dude, she fucking gets around too. She had sex with Arthas and stuff. Like they were like lovers before he turned kooky.
Jaina does give off the vibes of I'm gonna sleep with it and then cry about it.
Yeah, she with everybody.
Where my homie Thrall gonna get some though? Bang!
So that's like actually a theory. That's a theory that during like Cataclysm era that she sleeps with Thrall, but it's never like
they don't want you to know. What are they?
What is Blizzard hiding? Did she get rammed? Anyways,
now it's all bad, balding and all.
Anyways, but that's another instance of this book taking on a lot of perspectives, and some are not necessarily relatable or functional. Like Calicos is like obviously such a fucking smug prick.
Yeah.
he there are certain characters in this book that sound kind of wise or have some kind of
philosophy.
Some kind of philosophy that makes sense. But like Calicos is like blue dragon aspects were destroyed and he's one of the only ones left, and he saw like the dawn of aspects happen and then fall, and then he
you're really depressed.
He experienced like Malagos's memories through like him being like insane and coming close to madness, and like then he's like, you are too sad for me, like you are too unhappy, and you're like, what? Why? Literally her fucking entire city just got Hiroshima, and you're like, dude, you're really bringing me down, bro.
Right.
Like,
you're killing my vibes, bro.
Like,
man.
At that point, like Garrosh is like a more likable character than him.
Yeah.
Like Garrosh is just way more relatable. Garrosh is like, yeah, I love the orcs and I would do anything for it, and anyone who wouldn't is an absolute fucking coward, and fuck you, Bane, you fucking cow pussy.
I'll eat you. I'll eat you, big fucking cow, stupid.
And you're kind of like, dude, this Garrosh guy is making an insane amount of sense. And then he talks about, he's like, Anduin, you're such a fucking naive fucking retard. I don't even know what to say to you. It's not even worth having this conversation. You're like, this Vayne guy, this Garrosh guy is really making a lot of sense.
I like this guy.
It's something I like, and I think maybe everyone wouldn't take that away from this, because I think Garrosh is just meant to be this one-dimensional, like, we all hate Garrosh. Yeah. But I think he is one of the best parts of the book, and how like sporadic they let him talk and like have reactions makes it. I mean, it's the character, but it's also just fantastic writing. It makes his scenes really impactful.
Yeah, it definitely it was kind of like, it surprised me a few times because he's very like, not obviously, as you said, he's like very not talkative, you could say, in the book. Like it's like a lot of the scenes that just play out, and he's just kind of sitting there with like a emotionless look.
Yeah, they're like, and he locked eyes with Tyrande, and yeah.
And it's like, so when he does talk, it kind of like either it takes you by surprise, or you're like, this homie's about to just spit something, and it's gonna piss so many people off. Like,
Well, because half the time it's just like he's like, "Well, I did it all, so I don't know what else you want me
Yeah,
to say."
he's like, it's like, God damn, are we still fucking doing this? And the fucking
Right.
all the Celestials are like in their like animal form. So there's the fucking ox and the crane. And he's like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking. I'm so tired of this. I hate it.
Garrosh is just tired.
Yeah. He's sick and tired of being sick and tired.
talking about Draenei children dying, is just yawns. It's like,
Thrall or Goal is too much. They put too much emphasis on him, I think, in this book. I know he was like the former war chief, and they're like trying to like build on that some more, I guess, because this is pretty close to Cata still, which he played a really important role in. But it ages pretty bad, especially the books after this. Like in Shadows Rising, they try to make him like the main horde like guy who they're talking to besides Zulk. So this is not even on topic, but they introduce a new character, Zulkan, who is just a troll who goes to help in Dazar'alor. But Thrall is like the main feller who is doing a bunch of that there. And they write him really stupid because Thrall just stops being important. Like, he doesn't do anything anymore. He's not really part of the horde. He's no longer leading anything. The Earthen Ring isn't doing anything. So
after Cataclysm, it seems like they kind of ran out of stuff for him to do. But at the same time, Thrall is like a fan favorite and like is treated that way also kind of by like Blizzard. So it's kind of in a weird place because he's had his all arc, and it's like, well, he's a dad now, and he did his big event in Cataclysm. It's like, I don't know.
It does seem like he's just kind of there for the sake of name being there, I guess. Like, it's just, I don't know.
He's important, but he's just out of stuff to do. And like, I feel like I like Thrall as a character, but I feel like all the scenes with him weren't as impactful as the other ones, I think.
Yeah. Yes, that was kind of where I was going with that. Whereas, you know who got the absolute optimal amount of screen time in this is my homie Vol'jin.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ooh. He gets like enough time, not both just talking, but like him in letters and him discussing things with the rest of the Horde members. And you get a very, 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 very good look of Vol'jin, who is maybe my favorite Horde character. I think Vol'jin is extremely well written and also has come a very, 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 very long way if you think about where he was in like Classic, because the Trolls were like a step above Savages like for most of their history. And Vol'jin especially has killed like, there's something in, I don't know, this book or maybe it's in Shadows of the Horde where he's like, I've killed like 10,000 men. And Chen's like, you what? He's like, yeah, I killed. He's like, I killed like 10,000.
Yeah, man, I just killed 10,000 men.
But I think he has one of the best arcs. And then when they kill him in Legion, also a fantastic arc. Also, like, just brings the entire, like, because he's who should have been War Chief or Cairn when Thrall stepped down, in my opinion.
Well, right, but that's like a point of the book too,
right?
Like, yeah, because that was the whole thing of like Thrall like recounting of how it was like they have the flashback or whatever, and they just kind of explains that Cairn would have been like a lot better, and same for Vol'jin, but then he chose Garrosh mainly just because he loves the Horde, I guess, like a lot, and he'll do whatever he has to, and like Garrosh, it was like kind of one of the, I guess, sympathetic points was that he's like, I do not feel fit to lead, and Thrall's like, yes you can, and he's like, I don't know, like I'm good at fighting but not politics,
right?
And then
Yeah.
Like, trade deals aren't my thing, and then Thrall's like, just do it anyway. I have to go.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to get.
I have to go into a cave and jack off. I'll be back in 6 years.
Right, he's trying to leave the house, like he has the door open, like he's about to leave, like he's like, Garrosh, please, just do this. I have to go.
Please, Mr. Thrall, I'm telling you, the Horde would fucking be shit if you let me lead. I think you should lead.
Well, dude, and
Garrosh.
that's the other point about Goal or Thrall that I'm trying to make is like, this is his fault, and the book does not do enough to like.
True.
Like, Goal makes the point that we do the best we can with the information that we have and blah blah blah. But your longtime trusted friend and advisor, Cairn, Giga Buddy, Bloodhoof, right. He's fucking 10 feet tall. He's like your most trusted advisor and closest friend ever since you led the
Coolest
Horde.
Guy, by the way.
Yeah, and ever since you led the Horde, since they've been in Azeroth and you know, some of your closest allies, and then he picks Garrosh anyway, and he makes the point like, I did the best I could. Like, no, why don't we execute Thrall? I'm not even mad at Garrosh anymore. You're the one who made the fucking dumbass idea of making like the guy who went down to the beachhead and shot everyone with like an M60. And you're like, wow, you killed a bunch of the enemy. He's like, yeah, that was pretty good. I got a boner. And Thrall's like, you what? And Garrosh's like, I got a boner from killing 400 Alliance troops. He's like, wow, that guy, war hero. That guy needs to be leading. It's like, what a fucking, why is Thrall not on trial? Like, I don't.
He doesn't really give enough justification. Like, I can buy. Like, it's a good point of, like, well, you can only do what you can with the information that you have at the time. But, like, like you said, like, there's no real good basis. Like, there's a lot of good warriors and shit, but it's like, and you know Cairn. It doesn't, maybe there's more explanations elsewhere, but, like, the book is just kind of like, well, I fucked up.
Yeah, he was a war hero, and the people wanted a war hero, and they're tired of fighting, so we're going to put a war hero as chieftain. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Thrall. I'm stupid.
Which, like, I'm not mad at Blizzard for writing that. I'm just mad at Green Jesus because he's a fucking idiot.
Green Jesus.
Yeah, but that, yeah, his like, we do the best we can is like probably a line Garrosh should have had, because if anyone actually made a hard decision to do something, it was Garrosh. Thrall was just like, I'm going to ignore my father figure, which I never had. I don't know why. I can't find him. My father figure said this is... Because Cairn wasn't like, I think you shouldn't do this. Cairn is like, I will fucking leave the Horde. Stop. You are making the wrong decision. This is not an opinion.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I am telling you. Also, hope I don't die in some kind of axe battle in the next year or so. Because boy, that was... But yeah, anyway, Green Jesus, Cairn died, gone. I don't like that they drive home the Makara, where Garrosh kills Cairn, because it was an accident.
Oh, really?
And well, because Magatha like poisoned the axe. Because like, number one, what a fucking weird rule that you're like, okay, we're gonna do this honor duel. Also, your shaman can imbue your weapon with an enchantment. And you're like, wow, why don't we just use regular axes? And they're like,
yeah,
but
you know,
yeah. And then this stranger's gonna imbue mine. Sure hope nothing bad happens. And then Cairn just dies, and Garrosh is like upset by it. Garrosh like has a fucking meltdown about it, but then, you know, they like bring it up all the time. Like, he didn't mean to kill. It was an accident.
I feel like a lot of the things that happen in WoW lore and in this book, you could just play the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme for.
Yeah.
like Sylvanas, like finding out that Vereesa's backing out is like.
Dude, and then that rampage she goes on at the end where she's just killing woodland creatures.
I love that. I even wrote that in my notes. The part where she goes over how she rips a fucking head off or something like
yeah,
that,
with her
dude. That was
hands.
yeah, and like she's just like pelting this poor bear. There's this guy like in the mud, like with like hundreds of arrows and shit, and she's oh, dude, what that scene was fucking good. That was a really good scene.
Yeah.
It sits there weird because it like just they like cut to like Sylvanas is in I was in Tears Fall or whatever, and she's just murdering everything. Like there was no build up
she's
to
running
it.
around on an undead horse and shit, and she's just fucking killing everything. There's like
It's even weirder because it's like there's a lot of other traumatic shit that they go to in like the flashbacks and stuff, but then when it just cuts to Sylvanas pissed off, it's like graphic how she's just goring these animals, and like you said, she like rips the wolf's head off. And
yeah,
thing with it. I don't remember, but like
she screeches and the bear just stops like in its tracks
Yeah,
and falls
yeah,
over.
dude. Yeah, the bear falls over because she fucking dude. Like a 500, 600 pound bear is like, oh god, and like trips.
His fucking ears explode and he gets turned into a fucking sandbag.
yeah, because she's the fucking banshee queen,
Yeah,
and their
right.
things are screaming. So it's like, Jesus
Ah.
Christ, Savannah.
That whole scene was just really good.
It ties it up really, really good. So, have we missed anything in your fellas' notes that we haven't covered? Just freeballing.
I mean,
They're
there was a
nuts
scene.
out.
This is like kind of like a very minor thing, and kind of goes hand in hand with like the graphic, like descriptions of stuff in the book.
Mhm.
Like when I think it's either Thrall's or Southing's testimonies. It's one of them. It's when they're going back in time and they're raiding they're doing a raid on Talmora.
Oh
something.
yeah, when like
And
when the
they
Frost
talk
Wolves,
about how yeah, and they talk about how the Mountain Hawks are just like beheading all these like Draenei. They're like casting like fires and curses on them, and they're screaming. And then they like there's like mention like how they talk about how they run into like a building, they kill everyone and run out, and they just repeat. It's like
And
it's
then how they murder a child, or like
yeah.
like a graphic description, because I think it's like Duraton is like because like a just following orders type of thing. Like
yeah.
like he hesitates killing this like young Draenei girl, and then another orc runs over and just like I think with like a spear just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
runs through.
and then like rips it out of his side once he impaled her.
Yeah, he
It's
does
like,
that, and then he's like, "You owe me, Duratan," and Duratan's like, "No."
Out, it was like threw the body on the ground with like the spear still in her, put the foot on her, and yanked it out, and it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
You owe me, Duratan.
yeah, dude. And then Thrall like not Thrall.
You
Duratan,
saved
like-
my life from this.
Yeah,
3-year-old girl with a butter knife.
you say with a butter knife.
I don't know what she was
Damn,
using.
That's right. Yeah, she got them horns. I was pretty freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame I stand 7.5 feet tall, and Draenei children are like 3 feet tall. So I don't.
Thought it was a no for a second, then I would have been really scared.
Yeah, then I would have just stomped it out. Yeah, feels good. That's a great scene. They don't hold back at all with anything, and that's one of the things I do like about this book is it's very brutal.
And
More
again,
times, like there's really not that much blood in WoW. I mean, like there kinda is, but it's not gory. But then, like when you get to the books, it's like Sylvanas
really,
heads off of wolves.
yeah. It's yeah. Again, though, we've talked about it in the beginning, but like I think it wouldn't be as good, or like it wouldn't be as like ugh, if it wasn't for the narrator doing a really good job. Like again, I gotta
Fantastic job, dude.
uh-huh. Very, very good.
They do that in a lot of other ones too, like Rise of the Horde, like the origin one. Good book, by the way, but it's very gross. Like first scene is Duratan killing his first. I don't know what it is, like
Some kind of animal.
wolf or something. I don't know.
Pet chicken.
But basically is like it's got to be like 6 or 7 paragraphs in, and they're like, "Yep," and he cuts this, and then warm red sticky spray all over his face, and then blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, holy fuck! I'm literally 2 pages in, and he's covered in blood. And they talk about like in Wolfheart when they have the big fight happen. They talk about how maybe no. Maybe this is in Lord of the Clans with Thrall, and they talk about how there's like vomit and blood and shit and piss all over the ground and how it smells. No, seriously, there's a part where they're like,
orcs are pissing and shitting
no.
themselves.
They like cut open. They're like fighting humans, and they like cut one through the stomach, and the stomach contents spill out. And so,
Damn,
like, shit and food and bile and like blood, and it's just like a very, very harrowing look at like
The
war.
orc's strength.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just like they don't, because in WoW you're like, hee, I'm playing PvP.
Right.
I'm not hurting another person, but then they're like, yeah, and then
strike.
and then Orc, and then Thrall pushed him too hard, and the human fell down and split his skull open. And have you ever smelled what epithelial cells smell like? Do you know what a brain smells like? And you're like, oh man, oh god.
And then Karen shoots like, okay, take 15, everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's always like the whole courtroom is getting shown this like these traumatic events of people getting bored.
I said, chill out, boys. Take a break.
Right, and then they're like cross-examining, like, so, like, Tyrannus, like, you're pretty racist against orcs, huh? And then, like, that's her strategy, too, for, like, the first, like, quarter, at least. It's, like, half of the witnesses is, like, so could you say that all orcs are violent?
Yeah,
And just...
yeah, would you say that there's a statistic that might correlate to orc violence?
Right. We have Toronto using 1350
yeah, right, yeah, right.
Or it's just kind of weird, and it's like to go expand upon that. I think, like, not that I can speak from experience that like at all, but I think a lot of the racism like themes and stuff here are like a bit more like nuanced than I was kind of expecting.
Sure.
Or like it's at least it's presented in like a pretty okay way, I guess. Like it's not like just racism bad or something like that. Like it
Right.
doesn't feel like too ham-fisted or anything, I guess.
I
Like, and you
agree.
like with Varian too kind of like exemplifies it, and like how, like, I don't know, like he's still racist, but like not as racist as the thing.
Well,
No,
I think the book is a lot about like overcoming, a prejudice that you might have for a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of orcs killed Jaina's everybody, so Jaina hates orcs. Like I'm not saying she should, but the point of the book is like, can you get past a slight that includes a certain race of people or race of beings? And I think the book does a really great job of like showing, right, because if it was just like all orcs aren't bad people, look at Thrall, he doomed all of Azeroth.
Right. Like they pointed out, but it's exactly what I was trying to say, of like, it's not, there are worse like takes on like explaining that racism is bad. Like this felt like a bit better. It's not like the core theme, but I feel like it's presented in a way that's a bit better.
Right.
Again, not speaking from experience.
Well, and I think that I think that's how you effectively, that's why I think it's that WoW is, and we've talked maybe a little bit about this, but I think WoW is like a really inclusive space, and I think part of what makes the game great and accessible for everyone is there's a huge diversity of races just in Azeroth, and whether or not it's like a purposeful, not allegory, but if it's supposed to like signal something, which I honestly don't think it is. I mean, it's just fantasy. It's just how it's always been. But I think when you storytell like this, or even like Tolkien did, although that was, we were just getting to the beginning of racism not bad there. He didn't get all the way. Yeah, he didn't get all the way there. But I think presenting it in a way like that's nuanced is like the best way to do it. Like I think you could very subtly influence people's thinking without something gigantic and silly. Although there were orc internment camps in Lord of the Clans. which
Not good.
yeah, there's like a very Lord of the Clans is almost like a slave redemption book. You would like it. You should read it sometime. It's very interesting. But
Yeah.
they do kind of draw that parallel when the orcs come through. But then again, even that's a nuanced take because they literally came through the dark portal and was like, okay, who are we gonna rape? Like, let's
Yeah.
find the first living, breathing thing to fucking kill.
Right, because the premise was
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. They were just like operating on the template of like the first Warcraft game of just this is the good side, this is the kind of
Right.
bad side.
Right.
But, like, yeah, I don't know, because I think the thing is like I wouldn't call like a lot of WoW anything to do with our current like a really any much race commentary.
Right.
Because the
Sure.
racial politics are just really different from
Sure.
like
Yep.
life, because it's like the like how would you even scale like the power imbalances and stuff like that, like it's not really analogous, but I guess it's just the main point of just covering prejudice. I think
Right.
the book
Yeah.
well, because like Varian was just kind of like, well, like when they talk about the dwarf racism, like he's like, well, I kind of had to deal with my prejudices and not try to tell how these other people how to live. And like, cause the racism thing, cause like Garrosh is like, you gotta do it all for the orcs. I don't care about anyone else. Just like we'll enslave some trolls. Fuck it. Like,
Yeah, you can go to your troll relocation
right,
zone.
like,
Yeah.
go back to the slums is like what Garrosh
Dude,
says to like bullshit when he's pissed off.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
go slink back to the slums with the rest of your kind, and you're like, oh, my kind.
yeah.
Damn. Wow, pretty racist though.
I can't even attest, because there's obviously the real life like Taurens are Native Americans and like the trolls are like the Caribbean, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
and they don't
know how that's.
yeah, they really don't draw like really strong parallel, and I don't think they need to. Like I said, I think the idea that you can come at prejudice in a way that's, you know, open-minded to some extent and have a discussion about it, because that's the other thing with WoW, and I think with this book that's really great about it is it gives you a lot to think about. Like, I think about this book still sometimes, and I'm like, wow, do I think part of what Garrosh did was justified, or do I think, you know, what Thrall did was justified, or, you know, where am I at in this? Which aren't really related to the race thing, but I think it does an amazing job of giving you a discussion and not like a destination.
It's not an adventure story.
Yeah.
Like, it's very like I really like when they have these like broad, like vast fantasy settings, and they do something, I guess, weird more or less, of like them doing a trial as opposed to just a basic adventure kind of template, or just war period,
right?
Like that. Like Warhammer, I'm like, I don't know, I kind of need something more to go off of than just there is constant war and killing.
Right. The other really nice thing that I was thinking about recently, since we're on the topic of World of Warcraft in real life, is I like that WoW doesn't pull like a really shitty like noble savage thing, which is one I didn't really realize existed until I read about it recently.
Is that kind of like
that's like those like,
but like I don't know. Just
Dude,
explain it first, and I'll tell you if it's what I mean.
Yeah, so what it is it's like okay, so we all have Facebook, right? Right. Okay, so
Yeah.
Sadly,
when the girl from your high school who is, I don't know, she could be conservative or left wing or whatever, posts a picture of just any Navajo person, any person they perceive to be Indian, and the caption on it is clearly fake and is like, oh, we didn't have cell phone back then. There was no crimes. We had no jails in our tribe and there were no criminals, and I had no money. Everything was valued to me. We had no money. What is money? Like,
Or like the Japanese have a saying, and it's like just some
the idea that like indigenous people around the world until they got touched by air quote society was like this beautiful paradise and like paragon of understanding and wisdom. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that recently. That
Well,
like,
yeah, because I was thinking, because I'm not any part of any of those groups to really say, like, I don't know what Asian people, like, they're, like, how they feel about, like, Pandarans and
Mhm.
stuff. Because, like, it's, like, one of the, like, movie kind of, like, racist cliches, too, of just, like, somebody who's not white having, like, some kind of, like, special wisdom, or, like...
right, yeah, because they're not white.
Right, or it's, like, always, like, in, like, a horror movie, they'll consult, like, a racial minority, and
Yeah,
they're
dude.
like, "Oh, I know about this specter."
Dude,
And then
like the fucking The Stand by Stephen King, and it's literally just like witch doctor, like black lady, like super fucked up.
yeah,
Like
that's
Mama, what's her name? It's serious. It's like Mama Zabino or something, or it's like, and they keep seeing her, and I'm like, dude, is anyone else fucking seeing this? And then like in the movie adaptation of it, like she's like, "Oh, child, come here," and I'm like, dude, seriously, stop.
yeah, that's my thing of like, because I was thinking about it, because like a lot of the characters have like, they have like a lot of like poignant dialogue, and like I think part of it too is like they're taking a lot of influence from like Eastern philosophy,
Sure.
which is very different from how like the, I guess, I don't know how you want to say, like the alliance of kind of quote unquote more Western type
Right.
of ideals.
Yep.
So like it's very like it's contrasts with the rest of the characters' ideologies. Like you get that from like the Tauren compared to like a lot of other people and like Pandarans.
Yeah, I don't think they do it in a really bad way, but you know, it'd be like if every like wild ogre tribe you ran into is like, "Oh, gold, what do you need gold for?" Like that would be super shitty and like
yeah.
Go.
Yeah, gold, what do you need
You're
gold
okay.
for? I'm just saying, it's not cool, bros.
Fantasy races, like if you try to fit them into, like, I mean, they're also kind of products of, if you fit them into real life racial politics, it gets kind of weird.
Yeah, like perhaps you are projecting like an understanding of something onto these races.
And like before we get off the tangent, it's kind of like the decision they made for like D&D recently, is that I think like
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think they got rid of like racial like bonuses or stats.
Yeah, and wasn't there like a big outcry about books or something like that?
Right, well, because it's like, if you think about it, it gets kind of lame. Like, if you're like, what if I want to play an orc mage in Oblivion or something? It's like, well, now you have to take a magic penalty. And it kind of gets into the thing of like the race, like determining like, oh, this race is good at X, Y, and Z. And it just seems kind of weird. Like, I don't know, in the fictional setting, it feels like it could be based on something like real life stereotypes in a way.
Maybe.
Like, I don't know, because like I think like Wizards of the Coast and shit, like D&D has gotten like a lot more popular, and they're trying to be more inclusive. And I think when you think about it, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like you can compare them to the really like the real life stereotypes, and how that's kind of weird.
I guess, but that to me doesn't actually sound like any meaningful like discussion happened.
I think it's also better for play too, of like
maybe I could see that.
Because, like, a lot of tabletop shit, like you can homebrew it like as much as you want. You can be as loose with the rules,
Right?
And like if you making an orc and having it be like a warrior every time, it gets kind of lame. Like if in WoW you weren't allowed to play as like if they never let you play as mages, that'd be kind of lame. Or something like that. Like I'm glad when they expanded like the classes, like it kind of fit lore wise, like to have them closer to what most of them would be. But I think it also is just good for like player expression.
I think I'll change my opinion on this. I think that in the D&D instance, I'm fine with that, because you know, if you're gonna homebrew it, then that's that, you're creating that universe or whatever. But I think in WoW, I think it's good that like only 2 horde races can be druids, because I think it gives it some weight. I don't like the idea that any class can be anything in like a set world that is existing, like an established world.
Yeah. Like, because I think it's a little bit different for WoW, maybe, I guess.
I would.
Like,
I would. Yeah, I think so.
I'm very of two minds on it. Like, before, I kind of liked it because it kind of helped with, like, the role-playing thing of, like, the humans of Stormwind aren't going to be druids and shamans.
Right.
That kind of made sense. But at the same time, I'm just like, well, I like making this type of race character, and I like playing this class, so I don't want to have to pick like a character model I don't like.
You should probably play D&D then. I hear they just changed something.
Oh, boy. Sorry, I like video games, not mind games.
Yeah. No, I you know, like I said, I think I agree that if you're gonna be using it as like a template to make your own adventure, which I think is, you know, really awesome. That seems like a good idea. But in WoW, there's just so much lore and story behind like why Tauren and Blood Elves can be paladins, but orcs can't be paladins, and
Zandalari can be paladins.
Yeah, and Zandalari can be paladins, but Volterra can't be paladins.
I guess WoW was different. Yeah, it does make sense. That's why I'm kind of like of two minds on it.
And I think a big part of that, and this is just WoW roleplay in general, is I think it's really integral to creating identity for. It's part of why I think WoW still exists as a fucking horrible ass game. I don't know if you listen to other podcasts, but you know, me and Bear pretty much said for a long time that this game's awful and it's my favorite game. And like I have no illusions that this game is grand or, you know, something just fantastic. This game is horrible and I love it. I love it so much. I love the setting. I love the combat. I love the art style. I love the world it's in. I love how they write characters and stories and the world around me. I love that I can go and experience all these things I'm seeing. I can go experience it in zones. That to me, man, I love it, but it's a bad game. But I think part of what makes WoW so successful is that identity of like, you have to learn all the races and what they can do and what the classes can do. And I think that's a really good thing. But maybe that's like my like I like black metal, like insular kind of thing happening.
Right. I protest.
Celestial say, yeah, I protest. That's something
that got stuck in my head while I was like walking around listening to this. Is Bane going, I protest.
Yeah, dude.
I protest.
Yeah, what it's Trushao, what were the names?
Chushao. And then there was one other one.
Tushi.
No, but it's like, I agree with the accuser. I agree with the defender. Like, you hear a lot of both of those, and I protest. Yeah, please rephrase your question.
It's like,
well, what did they
kind of out there? So,
what did they call him though? I'm trying to think of these names. They were really good. I at first I thought they were really silly, and then they did it like 1,000 times, and I was like, oh, this is like air quotes culture. Air quotes.
TM.
Fashwa is one of the other ones.
Fashwa, yeah.
I don't know what
I got a
for.
I got a link from a site called 5gv.nilcdn.pw.
Yeah,
it's in
Fashwa means judge.
Okay.
Oh, Fashwa.
And yeah, Chushao means counselor, as it's talked about. I mean, it makes sense because like Pandaria is like the neutral ground, so they're giving them all like equal titles.
Right. Man, what a good book. Okay, so what do we rate the book? If I had to rate the book as...
We even talked about the ending.
What do you want to talk about the ending? Let's talk about the ending. So...
we don't even know what the verdict is.
Okay, everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to go out and buy this book before they even see this podcast, so I don't... What's the matter?
Well,
you folks know what it is.
Yeah,
it's anyways.
A book, not a Wikipedia page. Well, I mean...
It is a Wikipedia page.
Okay, leave me alone. Talk about the ending.
So, Garrosh escapes with the help of the infinite dragonfly. I did already cover this, Dildor. Me and you gonna have some words after this. Okay.
We did
run.
Okay.
What the seal said.
What'd you say? The what?
We didn't talk about what the Celestials said
Yeah,
as their version.
that's at the very enderest of the book. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah,
Garrosh.
there came word maker.
Go on.
Garrosh escapes with the help of Wrathion and the Infinite Dragonflight, Kara's Dormu, and he beats up Chromie, which is funny because she's a gnome, so they beat her up and tie her in a room. Along with Lu and
Lee.
Lee Chu, I think, is there. Whatever. They were super cool Pandarans and they beat him up, and that
Fat shirtless pandas.
Yeah, that wasn't fucking cool, dude. They were pretty sweet.
I love.
Yeah, I love them a lot. They're the best. Anyways, they escape that way. They use like a temporal rift with the time bauble thing. And then the Dragon Maw comes with a bunch of like horde, like hardliners, like Garrosh loyalists. Yeah, and they have a huge fight, and the Temple of the White Tiger, Zwing. I don't know his.
G?
No, it's not G. G's the
cheeseburger.
Crane. Yeah, Cheeseburger the crane. Cheeseburger the red crane. Anyway, they attack the temple. Jaina dies. Hilarious. The red crane. Shiji. These names are hard, especially like the Oriental names on top of WoW names, and then they're like, let's make it Oriental and also WoW lore, and you're like, fuck. She dies, and then he resurrects like everyone who died that day, which was super cool of him to do. And then Garrosh leaves, gone. They travel back through time to Draenor 35 years in the past with Kara's Dormu. And Garrosh is like, ooh, this isn't my home. This isn't my sky. And Kara's Dormu is like, oh, well, it kind of is. This is blah, 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 blah. And then he hears someone call Hellscream's name, and he's like, I've got to kill who, and he turns, and they're actually talking to his father, Gramash Hellscream, pre-drinking Manaroth's blood on a hill, and it's so weird that they end the book like this. Instead of like Gramash like answering, they're just like, Hellscream, he just did a Hellscream, and then the book ends.
Well, I gotta say, the ending was very poopy. I didn't really.
I didn't like where it was going at first, but as it developed, I kind of liked it. But
I like the whole Shaw thing. With
right, well, that's what I was gonna get into of why the battle is even more bonkers is because they play Persona and they fight the versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Because so what it is like that time device or whatever that Chromie and Karaz made, that gets shattered, and then like these rifts open up, making alternate timeline versions of all our main characters. So we have
Garrosh killing Kane. No.
We have
Bane killing Garrosh.
Yeah.
Literally ripping him apart with his hands.
Based.
Yeah.
And then
based apart.
War Chief, and he's like brutal and shit. And then there's another Thrall who never became a shaman.
Yeah,
he still fights for Aedelus Blackmore, the where he was a slave, Thrall, literally slave.
Right. And then Anduin, it's a King Anduin from the future who's also a baby man and is like curls up into a ball immediately and doesn't fight it.
Yeah, dude, and then gets absolutely fucking shitted and acquitted.
Yeah, Vol'jin freaking stabs him, doesn't he?
Yeah, okay, and so then there's he does, and then there's just the alternate version of Vol'jin, who is just Vol'jin, but who never got like a vague air of benevolence to him. Like he's still just like, I am 10 feet tall and I'm going to fuck you.
Yeah, it's kind of vaguely evil versions.
Yeah,
Vol'jin. It's like Vol'jin one. It's like okay.
Yeah, I think Jaina. I can't remember if it was just evil Jaina or if depressed Jaina or something. I don't remember.
They never talk about hers. The part of the plot point is that Thrall is like, I wonder what Jaina's was. Oh well. This has been an audible blah blah blah. Yeah.
Like they didn't. Yeah, not everyone got an alternate. Like there wasn't a variant.
Caligos got one. Caligos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kalagos
Yeah,
is
like an insane one that has kind of given up. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah, who was blaming himself for like Jaina going
because because the
Yeah. Like she would have destroyed Orgrimmar, I think, was what it was.
with the
And it's like, yeah. So he felt bad, and he's like, "No, don't feel bad for somebody else's choices."
okay.
And
So
it's like, okay,
here's the funniest thing: when they described that she was like readying the sea or the wave to destroy Orgrimmar, but they said instead of water, it was made out of water elementals. I just thought of like a bunch of the little like water elementals that may just get stacked on top of each other.
Like it's like World War Z, but it's
Yeah, they're just like slamming into Orgrimmar. Yeah.
Oh, it reminds me of another like weird thing that I think Golden just kind of forgot how Torrens worked for a second, because I think it was Varian received a letter from Bane, and then it said it was signed with a Torrent hoof print. So
It'd have to be like a gigantic scroll.
well, right, but that would have meant Bane stepped on it for his signature, and it was like he has fingers. Like, why would he sign it?
I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
well, and for me, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like a cultural thing. Like that's like a like a seal. Like their hooves are, I don't know,
like-
special
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, it's like the idea the messenger has the paper like is like on the ground sitting, and the Tauren is just like looked out of it and puts.
Yeah, he just
puts
like
his-
breaks like floor tiles. Like,
yeah, he like stamps it, and it's
well,
like the paper's on
my
He
issue
uses
is
the
like
control passive and just stop.
whatever like missive they gave him is not a gigantic like Roman scroll, like huge fucking gigantic
one of those like
scroll.
giant art, like school art.
Yeah, dude. It was like a note, like maybe like a 8x10 piece of paper. So like he's okay.
It's like 8 paper.
Yeah. Bane is like 10 feet tall. Okay, he's a cow that is
steroids.
bipedal, right? A bipedal cow. The hoofs have got to be gigantic. Okay, the hoofs have got to be at least a foot or two wide, and like wide and long. Like they'd have to be gigantic, right? There's no way he's got like little cow hoofs that he's standing on with his gigantic muscly ass. Like, dude, he literally his entire hoof print would be the entire fucking paper.
Right.
True.
Yeah, it just
You mentioned it was in a different book. Sorry to interrupt, but in another book you mentioned that there's like when the horde are marching,
This is-
Tauren she steps on a goblin
Yeah,
and crushes it. No one cares.
Yeah, in Wolfheart, there's a point towards the end of the book where the horde is marching on Ashenvale, and they're literally marching up to, I think it's Silver Crest Outlook or whatever, some outpost that they have. And there's a Tauren that tramples a goblin. They're just marching, and like the orcs around him laugh.
Jesus.
It's pretty fucking big. Like literally just underfoot. And the Tauren like doesn't realize it, and the orcs around him are like
I mean, like, to be honest, like, I don't know which is worse, gnomes or goblins.
gnomes and then goblins.
Yeah.
No, sorry, diaper gnomes, then goblins.
Diaper
I think they
gnomes.
all
Oh,
included
the fucking the robo gnomes.
Yeah, the mecha gnomes.
Yeah,
really
no?
bad.
They're like,
I
we
think they
didn't want this. We wanted bras on our male gnomes, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking
I
about?
hate the WoW community. Y'all people need to go to jail.
Yeah, y'all people need the Naru, bro.
The Naru.
Y'all homies need the Naru, bro. Yeah, wow. But yeah, that's Goblin crushed underfoot. Happy time. Make me happy. Make me smile.
I love the Tauren. Everyone should go donate to the Tauren.
Go roll a Tauren. I'm playing a Tauren Druid right now. Resto Druid. I wish my hunter was at all competitive for anything, but he's not. Thank you, Blizzard. Thanks. Listen. Shut up.
I wanted to play my warrior.
The Warrior's super good right now. Arms Warrior's super good. What do you mean you don't care? It's good right now. It's everything you want.
Yeah, but it's like got super crippled where there's better, easier choices. I don't know.
I actually don't know right now. I'm pretty sure it's pretty high up, but that's fine. I will let you live in upside down world. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the book?
War Crimes is a 10 out of 10 book. It has very complex themes, interesting character dynamics, and there's a lot of good characters. It has a very low barrier to entry. If you played like Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone and like a tiny bit of WoW, you probably have enough knowledge of the characters that it will make sense.
This is a 10 out of 10 for you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Wow. That's high praise coming from Fildor.
True. I love War Crimes, and I also like the book War Crimes.
I was talking about the concept of a war crime. The book is 6 out of 10, if anything.
I like the book though. It was like this is like my first, I guess, audible book. I mean, like it was good. I enjoyed it. There was a few low parts of tension. It's just like but like for the most part, the characters are all fun. I love the characters. Narrated really well. It was fun to follow along to some of the plot points and like the Garrosh, the Garrosh and Anduin stuff. I was excited to see them interact again. I'd say like in book terms, I guess like 8.5.
I would probably also give it either like a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. The book has some low points that I think are maybe not avoidable, but they are sometimes kind of drawn out, and maybe this is just because this is like my 5th time through the book. But the high points are extremely high, and the book is very thoughtful. And that for me sells it really good. And the voice acting, Scott.
I love you.
Yeah.
You're a great guy. Okay, I know me and you go way back. That evening we spent at the
Sucking D's
Botanical Gardens. And I also bought your Jurassic Park narrations too. Those are very, 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 very good. But the way it's presented, the whole book, the high points are so high, and you're riding so hot. For me, it makes up for any weird low points or like slow, like Jaina pulled her hand away slowly from Kalikos, and Kalikos is like, "Fuck you, whore!" Like I don't.
He definitely him narrating would have made up like any other points if I just read it and I'm like, oh, this part's stupid. Him narrating it made it a bit more less.
I was gonna say that the audiobook is a 10 out of 10. If I had to read just the book as itself, it would make it like an 8 or a 9.
Right. Yeah.
Probably like a 9.5. But the 10 out of 10 comes like the vocal like performance of fucking
the music as well. I don't know why, but it added a bit more to it when there's like this big reveal or this big drama, and then you like brr, 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 and shit like that.
Well, and it does it so sparsely too. So
it's between each chapter, and it's not always. It's like it really pulls from like a range of. I don't know. I'm assuming it's from like the official soundtrack. Like it's not original.
I imagine they get like
it pulls from like a wide range of for like quieter music pieces to like the very like loud things for like shocking reveals like between chapters.
Yeah, like sometimes it'll be like like when they pulled in Pathith or whatever his fucking stupid name is. Like it was a big reveal and the music was like heavy and intense.
Parith?
Yeah. But then other times when the chapter just ends out and there's no big thing, it's just a very like soothing send off to the chapter, which I really liked. Yeah.
Wow.
Music.
10 out of 10. The Guildies podcast gives it a 10 out of 10.
I'd give it a 10 out of 10 if Jaina just fucking
shut the hell up. Got the fuck over it, bitch. Shut the hell up.
Give me your feet, Jaina.
Yeah, where's the fucking foot job scene?
Oh.
Where's the scene
What do you mean? Oh no.
That's in War Crimes : Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah, colon, but like not like the symbol, like COLON.
Where's the Calico sex scene as a dragon and Jane? What the hell's going on there? What the hell?
Okay, all right. So I was planning on wrapping this up, but I guess this is never gonna be fucking wrapped up. How the hell does a dragon aspect like? Do they have sex? Like, how do you? And how do you feel? How would you feel if you're like, oh yeah, my partner, yeah, he's got a dick and we fuck, but also he's actually a 30-foot fucking dragon.
I was wondering about the dragon sex too, because I'm like, if Alexstrasza gets pregnant and she's in her human form, what does it come out as?
No, like, she got pregnant in her dragon form.
Well, no, sorry, in her the dragon form. Because I know she was pregnant in dragon form, and that's what the enforced pregnancy bit was. But like the fucking, if she was in her human form, but like she gets
like,
knocked up.
Like, can she get pregnant? Yeah, like
well,
what's the?
I imagine she just like turns it off. I guess I don't, because they control their forms, right? Like,
right, because it's like a true like physical human form. So I'm wondering, like, if she got pregnant as a dragon and changed back, or the other way around.
It just
like
dies. She just miscarries. Dude, okay. Dude, when Garrosh says, that Anduin's mom will, if she would have fucking miscarried, I was like,
yeah, dude.
Bruh. He said the M word.
My man Scott Brick just laid that down for us, man.
Yeah,
what
he
the heck?
fucking just slammed it down real hard.
We on a call and he just slammed dunked our ass. What the heck?
That was great. Is it Tifa? Is that her name? I think.
Yeah, from Final Fantasy VII.
No.
Stupid fuck.
Yeah, guess what's never getting talked about on here.
Isn't gonna Final Fantasy podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey guys, do you like pressing the same button and jacking off? Me too.
Do you like having a bad fucking MMORPG? Yeah, me too.
Ooh, now that's here.
Real
hey, listen.
bad.
Whatever bad things you have to say about WoW, at least you're not playing fucking Final Fantasy 14. Rabbit women. Here we go. We're doing it.
As
you like a completely unbelievable and shitty universe with a bad art style to it, and you can never take seriously because all the characters are fucking shit and garbage. Yeah, talk to me about that.
As a Final Fantasy apologist, I can't stand 14. Like, I can't stand the MMO.
Here's what really I can't stand, Dylan. I got a bone to pick with you right now, you fucker.
Oh,
okay.
Never.
Why can we not have more than one Final Fantasy game in the same fucking universe?
Because the thing is...
No.
Well, no. You know how that
Uh,
went? We got Final Fantasy X-2, which is a good game, but it's on the premises of them being Sailor Moon and playing dress up as like a core mechanic.
Okay, but what if they used a not brainless core mechanic? Like, why can't they be like, oh, I love Final Fantasy VII. Let's make Final Fantasy VII 2. That'd be sweet. Cloud gets to jack off into fucking my asshole.
That they did that. They did a prequel series and a spin-off sequel.
Yeah, but what if, like, why can't they just be the main series? Like, why can't we just pick one of these sets of protagonists and go with it?
Get that into it, but because a lot of the stories, like, it's the end. They've killed God, and there's not much more for them to do.
They killed God.
Well, then why did you make them kill God? Why didn't you aim a little lower?
What they have to do every game. Like, nearly all the games, the final boss is either God or some, like, cosmic ethereal thing that's, like...
Those Final Fantasy people are just bad at marketing.
Yeah, I don't understand why, like, the story has to lead to... I joke about killing God. I get up in the morning and there's ice in the road. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you, fucker.
Condensation.
Yeah, JRPG does not that make.
Like, all of them, they turn into God half the time. We're just like the ultimate being, and then a group of like 4 people with swords and boards just kill it.
Kind of sounds like a Marvel movie.
Kind of sounds like World of Warcraft.
No,
bro, when did we fucking kill God?
We kill gods, but the world is set up enough that there's always like there's something else that's like, you know, you can believe it and you have a higher goal to achieve.
Don't you fight like Thune though?
It's an old god, and they're not gods. They're not creators of the universe. They're just one of the 7 aspects of existence, you fucker.
Yeah. and they set up at least there's more to kill than just one. So
Yeah. And they're like, okay, World of Warcraft is done. This one's called. I'm just gonna take panties out of my girlfriend's panty drawer of craft. So it's two. It's two. Remember, it's two. So, two completely unrelated things. Same anime here, though. And you only kill God once, and he's a god. There's several gods. If you kill Aphrodite, I didn't just kill Zeus or whoever's higher than Zeus.
Isn't stuff like the Final Fantasy 14 dungeons are just like one boss, and that's the entire dungeon? Isn't that how that plays out?
I don't know, honestly. Like, I'm assuming mini bosses, but because a lot of it, I haven't played the game much, but they do a lot of like fan service bosses where like the raids end in like bosses from other games. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Or like you can use a DPS counter, but you can't talk about other people's DPS, otherwise they'll ban you.
What a bad. Meanwhile, I'm an ogre monster.
Yeah. Meanwhile, listen, I'm going through like Shadowfang Keep, and this guy's like not keeping up my DPS, and I'm like, "Hey, fuck you, idiot! Guess what? Learn how to play the fucking game. Is this your first time?" And they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, "Fuck you!"
Adapt or die, you fucking shitty warlock.
Yeah. Yo, I only have
Shadowbolt.
Yeah, immolate.
My fucking nutsack in your face, you shitty demon.
But yeah, it's pretty lame, and you shouldn't play Final Fantasy 14. Only play Guildies approved games. World of Warcraft.
That's the only game on the side good so far.
Yeah.
We're establishing a canon of the sides of good and evil for the podcast.
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Side of evil, along with Final Fantasy 14.
True.
And then WoW's on the good side.
Yeah. WoW's on the good side.
You'll have to play
Halo games.
Halo games are on the good side.
I'd put them on the bad side, but that's my own. I wasn't there.
Yeah, well, you were wrong.
Well, I mean, like, if we talk about how they've aged, yeah, on the bad side, except for like Reach and 4, but.
Listen. Okay, 343. Microsoft has my money, so they're going on the good side.
They got to be on the good side because they pretty much have instant access to my bank account. So not Blizzard levels of instant access, but
I have Blizzard cosign on everything.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, and I said this on one of the other podcasts, but like Blizzard right now could like leak my social security number, which I don't know why they would have it, but they could be like, "Oh, sorry."
They'll at you on Twitter. We just leaked your social security number and all your bank details, and you'll reply back to them. When's Hunter getting viable?
Yeah. Like I would, like it would literally take them like killing like my cat for me to be like, okay, now I will think about stopping my subscription.
Handling banking information's hard. We're taking the weekend off.
Dude, that fucking General Sam video where he like shits on DayZ so hard that the devs reply to him and they're like, "Come on, game dev is hard," and Sam's like, "It's your job."
Oh, dude.
What else is on the good side? Resident Evil. 1, 2, 3. Not that one. 4, 5, and 6. Good side.
And the remakes. Or at least...
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 remake. 3 is probably good. I don't know. I don't have $60 to spend on a 2-hour experience.
All of them are good except for like maybe 0 and the weird on-rail shooters.
Yeah, 7. God, that was so bad.
7's kind of stinky,
So
but
bad.
that's a whole other episode topic.
Sure is. We should do that. That's a good idea.
That's what I was saying. I'm going to be fucking playing through those games, so we're going to have to talk about.
Dude, for sure. Play through 4. I want to talk about 4.
I was thinking about it.
I'm excited for the 4 remake.
That is gonna be pretty fucking sweet, homie. I'm gonna be
with how like 2 was. Ooh.
Yeah, because I think they probably learned a lesson from 3. Because Capcom does this amazing thing where they can't consistently put out good games. They just can't. They literally don't know how.
They'll fuck up for 10 years, and they're like, "Okay, here's a 10 out of 10."
Yeah, well,
and then
dude,
they continue to fuck up.
Yeah, they were like Monster Hunter World, great.
Oh, dude. Holy shit.
Resident Evil 2 remake.
Amazing. Literal both 10 out of 10 games, but directly preceding and after that, absolutely horrible. Resident Evil 7 is it is one of the biggest like I regret buying and spending time on that game things. And listen, I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. I have been a drug addict. I have a lot of horrible things have happened to me. Okay, I feel worse about my experience playing Resident Evil 7 than my entire tenure as a drug addict. Okay, I'm dead serious. That game pissed me off so bad.
True.
That's another one where they're like, we're gonna take an IP and make it into a new IP. Oh, it flopped. Okay, well,
Turn it back.
darn it. Gosh, darn it. And then after it, Resident Evil 3, which I heard is like is like 2 hours of gameplay for $60, which no matter how good it is.
Capcom yourself is listening right now. You dropped the price by like $30. That's my final.
What I heard 3 is like good, but not as good as 2. And like I think if it just had more time, like I feel like it was a rushed release.
Yeah, they were like
it's really short.
They were like,
because like
give us money.
COVID too. Like they kind of, I feel like that messed up the development cycle, and they had a deadline.
Okay, I don't.
And now they have that new Resident Evil coming out with the big fucking vampire bitch.
I disagree.
Resident Evil.
I'm putting a stake in the sand here. I don't buy the whole COVID is affecting our development thing that much. Like, unless you're sitting in like a writer's room doing something, like most anything you're doing could be done from home.
I think it's not so much that the work is harder, it's getting everything together is probably an issue, because it's like, I imagine it, because obviously they probably that they're like all connected to or whatever, and they're just sending information back and forth, but it's just like, if someone has a problem, they've got to email them, and then they got to get back to the email with that, because they're getting other departments messaging them with like that.
Okay, but now you're just talking about like all these people aren't in the same room at the same time. Like the dickheads writing the illustrations and then sending it down to the animators are on opposite sides of the buildings. Like they're not like, hey Jim, how's those penis physics going? They're like, oh dude, don't know if I'm gonna have mountain time for the Cyberpunk release. And it's like, Jim, listen, if you're gonna do anything, get the penis physics done. We can take out AI generation and pathfinding and everything else. We need those penis physics done. He's like throwing paper airplanes back and forth. Like they're on different sides of the building. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, sorry bro, I was jacking off while I was animating, so I couldn't get back to your email. I mean, we're gonna have to release this game about 8 months early, so.
Also, to add to your penis discussion, they animated that, and they also did all like the other stuff, but you never once in the entire game see les punis.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know why I added
really fraught, but
What'd you say, Dylan?
a lot about Cyberpunk seems very fraught. Like just like I don't know.
It literally, to me, we'll see how it turns out, but like I hope this is like a land breaking or like a groundbreaking case in like consumer fraud, because it pretty much is consumer fraud in like most every sense of the word.
But bro, it didn't 8-year-old system.
Well, and here's my thing, and this is kind of what I was saying about the COVID thing. Listen, if we cut corners on this fucking podcast, let's say we had 10,000 subs and we cut corners on this, we're not guaranteed any money until we put the content out. Okay? And there's also no hype for it. No one's like bankrolling us to make these videos. Like, I don't know, like you people are paying into this for a service, and then you put out a game that does not have all these very clearly advertised services in it. Like, you are committing fraud. I couldn't get away with that at the bank. I couldn't be like, oh yeah, here's your loan. COVID is really hard, so here's 75% of it. Like, I just go to jail. I just go to jail for 1,000 years immediately. Like, where else can you do that? Like, why? I would be like, I'm sorry, we can't fund that loan for you right now. I won't give you any of it because you're not obligated to do anything here. But like when you are selling a product that does not have the things you're selling in it, that's just illegal. That's just like, that should be very illegal to do.
You're gonna get firebombed by the Cyberpunk.
Fuck them. I don't give a fuck, dude. That's literally fraud.
Yeah, it's fraud, but you're also dead and on fire.
It's that bothers me. Like and listen, I said this from the get-go that Cyberpunk was gonna flop so hard and be super shitty. I did.
You did. You absolutely did.
But that's my thing is like where else can you do that? Like what if you went to like
Call of Duty, Molten, NBA. Any of
yeah,
those.
but I feel like they don't advertise like their systems just suck. They're not advertising stuff that doesn't exist.
True. True.
What do you think, Dildor? You're someone who might have an opinion on fraud.
You love
On
dicks.
I don't know, because I think it's just the nature of like the AAA companies, because they're very beholden to shareholders. It's not like a Kickstarter where they're beholden to like Kickstarter backers where they can just lay that shit indefinitely. I mean, they don't have much accountability either, but I guess there's just no accountability across the board. Like a lot of companies, like kind of regardless, like they know that it's gonna sell regardless. Like look at fucking Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like that is like I enjoyed it, but like wow, they really did not put any effort into that game. Like, and it shows.
Well, and that's what I mean is like I hope I hope the feds get involved, but I hope like the Better Business Bureau or someone gets involved where they're like, listen, if you're going to advertise something, it has to be in there because if CD Projekt Red was like, guys, we need another year, okay, if it's COVID, okay, whatever. That if you cannot meet your deadline, do not put out something. Do not commit fraud. There it is. Do not, if what you are saying is in this good that you are giving, that someone is going to give you $60 for, and you say, yep, all these things, there's great AI, there's great driving, there's, great crowd generation, it's next level, bro. If you're selling that and then you are knowingly giving them a product that does not meet what you are selling them, that is and should be enforced as illegal.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it.
Like at least like update, like keep people post about your development cycle. Like it's only for the shareholders and not the consumers about like their progress on everything. Right. It's like just like have like just be willing, because I know you have to sell it, and that's kind of where like the trouble comes, but it's just like present something modestly for once. Like don't be like what's his name? Peter Molyneux, like the Fable guy who like just says all this crazy shit of like what he would want in a video game, but none of that comes to fruition.
Right.
It's like Fable's not a bad game. Like at least 2 is really good, but it's like a pretty like modest experience and isn't this crazy groundbreaking thing. But then it's like, but that's the thing. Like, how do you get people interested unless it is groundbreaking? Like
capitalism.
In terms of a mass scale, at least. But like, I mean, but that's kind of the rub of it. Of like, honestly, not just, I mean, capitalism is bad, but not just to get on that like tirade, but that's kind of like where it's fraught, because it's like you're not just creating art, you're selling a product.
Well, right, yeah, and
it becomes a priority for them, especially the AAA.
Well, right, and we kind of talked about it, but like I don't resent the idea that they have to make money or that there is like a development cycle that is like kind of molded into how the whole community and the whole industry works. My issue is when like you cross the line of like, seller wants to sell a good, buyer wants to buy a good, and you guys meet somewhere in the middle. When you're starting to get to like seller wants to sell like nothing for a ton and the buyer's not there, that's where like
all the microtransactions and shit, like just
microtransactions. Okay, let's wrap this one up. That's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about Resident Evil. Maybe we'll talk about
Scott Brick. Please adopt us.
World of War. Yeah, listen, Scott Brick. Audible. Listen, if you want to get in touch with Jibby, if you want to, he will get together, do some promo stuff. Maybe we get a little deal.
Call me Jimmy. I will kill you.
You literally said it was fine on the original podcast. I talked about it. And on my hard drive somewhere. And
where it's got the lady.
And Jibby is the one who got Matt Dabrowski on the podcast. So now, listen, Jibby has done more work than I've ever seen you do, Bear. So I don't even know what to tell you.
You're a fucking. I hate you.
Jibby got it done. Jibby literally got like
I will
a C
strangle
tier,
Jibby.
C or B tier like indie game dev on the fucking on our fucking tiny podcast, dude. Jibby is the man.
I will kill you.
Anyways, if you guys have any business concerns or
Jane, spit on
offers,
me, please.
you can send them Jibby's way. He it's a good
I
secretary.
am not Jibby.
We already have the link prepared. Audible.com/Guildies.
Yeah, Guildies podcast.
Use
That could take
Guildies at checkout.
Yeah,
Guildies at checkout.
yeah, and
Or
yeah.
use the code defeat at checkout.
Yeah. It's really weird. All the food porn on on Audible is marked down an extra 20% if you use Guildies podcast. Guildies podcast loves fat dick.
That is really weird.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. But this one weird trick got me. Okay, goodbye.